We chose this topic TPM because this is something, which is an integral part of the lean tools. So when you want to stabilize the shop floor, the TPM becomes one of the major component of stabilizing your shop floor. So TPM, or total productive maintenance, as the full form is actually one of the foundation blocks of any lean manufacturing implementation. Let me just share the screen so that we have a context over here. Okay. All right. Screen is visible. Okay. So along with the 5S, TPM actually, provides a very firm foundation on which we can build a sustainable improvements to our business. TPM constitutes a step-by-step process of equipment and people management towards the goals of zero accidents, zero unplanned breakdowns, and zero defects. Today, TPM has gained significant prominence even in the Indian manufacturing. Though most of the SMEs are still not able to focus on implementing the TPM in the right earnest, some efforts have already started in moving towards the preventive maintenance. And I would consider that as a good step, because more we focus upon the maintenance of our equipments, the better productivity we will be able to achieve over here. Large companies definitely have started on the TPM journey in a very right earnest. And several Indian companies also have got, the TPM certifications as well. We will talk about the levels of the TPM certifications and other things as well during the part of the whole session. One thing which I want to very specifically mention out, that TPM is a very vast subject. We will probably at some point come back along with the second webinar, which is focused only onto the implementation of the TPM. Okay. Today's session, we will give you an overview of TPM, and this is, as I said, is a vast topic. So probably we may not be able to really focus out onto the details of the implementation over here, and we will, but still, we will try to cover it out. What we will try to cover is the basics of TPM, TPM foundation, key tools for the TPM, a brief about equipment losses and OEE, and 8 pillars of TPM, which is the bulk of the discussion, and broad TPM implementation approach. Okay. So let's begin with a basic understanding of what is TPM. Okay. So as Kishore also mentioned, TPM is actually a very holistic approach to equipment maintenance that strives to achieve perfect production, which means no breakdowns, no small stops or slow running, no defects. And it also, puts a focus on the safe working environment. Okay. It is also a method to achieve the maximum equipment effectiveness through the employee involvement. One of the important things into any lean tool would be that all the tools somehow or the other are all revolving around the employee involvement. So we'll always keep the employee involvement as the central theme to any of the lean tool implementation whenever we take a reference to them. Okay. Total productive maintenance is a maintenance philosophy. I'm just repeating something which Kishore mentioned, and it is designed to integrate the equipment maintenance into the manufacturing process. Goal of any kind of a TPM program is to eliminate the losses tied to equipment maintenance, or in other words, keep the equipment producing only good products as fast as possible and with no unplanned downtime. That's what the TPM program's goal is. TPM is used to drive the waste out of the manufacturing process by reducing or eliminating production time lost to the machine failures. And goal of any TPM program, again, would be to ensure that we have always available equipment to manufacture the products for the end customer. By minimizing the rework, also slow running equipment and downtime, maximum value is added at the minimum cost. So that's what the TPM kind of focuses out on. Some brief history about the TPM, and TPM can be traced back to 1951 when the preventive maintenance was introduced in Japan. Nippon Denso was the first company to introduce the plant-wide preventive maintenance in 1960. Preventive maintenance is again a concept wherein operators produced goods using the machines, and the maintenance group was dedicated with work of maintaining those machines. However, with the automation of the Nippon Denso, maintenance became a problem because more maintenance personnel were required now. Okay, so management decided that the routine maintenance of the equipment would be carried out by the operators, and maintenance group will take up only essential maintenance work. So this is what we ended up calling it as a autonomous maintenance. Okay. Then Nippon Denso, which already followed these preventive maintenance practices, also added this autonomous maintenance done by the production operator. And the maintenance crew started more and more focusing upon equipment modification for improving the reliability. The modifications were made or incorporated in new equipment, and this led to the maintenance prevention. So preventive maintenance, along with the maintenance prevention and maintainability improvement, gave birth to the productive maintenance. That's what at the end became a total productive maintenance. Okay. The aim of the productive maintenance was to maximize the plant and equipment effectiveness to achieve the optimum life cycle cost of production equipment. Okay. By then, the Nippon Denso had already made a lot of quality circles involving the employees' participation into all this kind of the productive maintenance related activities. And the employees, almost every employee took part into implementing these kind of the practices. Based upon this development, in fact, Nippon Denso was awarded the Distinguished Plant Prize for developing and implementing TPM by the Japanese Institute of Plant Engineers. Later on, this award is now by the Japanese Institute of Plant Management. And Nippon Denso of the Toyota Group became the first company to attend the TPM certification. Okay, so that's some kind of a background of TPM. What are the principles of TPM? Very simple. First one is to increase the overall equipment efficiency, effectiveness, and we have talked about the OEE even into the earlier sessions as well. Second is to upgrade the operations and maintenance skills, okay, which is related to the people and their capabilities. Third one is to have the employee involvement through the small group activities. As I said earlier, employee involvement will remain central theme to most of the lean tool implementations. The fourth one is about a fact-based approach to continuously improve. Okay? So these are the basic four principles on which the TPM is all revolving around. Over a period of time, few people have added one or two here and there, but these four remain the central theme or the central principle of the TPM overall. Okay. Okay. I think by now most of you will have this, House of Lean or the Toyota Production System house, kind of, known to all of you. We have talked about it into the multiple tools again and again. Foundation of this Lean house is always the stability of the operations. Okay, and the stability of the operations on the shop floor is made up of 5As: workplace organization, visual management, and TPM, along with the Heizouka standardized work and Kaizen. So TPM becomes a very, very vital part of bringing the stability to the operations of any business. Okay, and TPM's focus is to bring the stability to the operation. More and more equipments, as they become stable, as they become highly available, downtimes are avoided, the stability to the operation starts coming up heavily. So that's where the focus of the TPM in the House of Lean is. Okay, TPM also is a paradigm shift in the shop floor attitude. The old attitude and the behavior of working in the silos is totally destroyed by the TPM. Introduction of the autonomous maintenance means that the operator is equally responsible for the operational uptime of the equipment, and maintenance team rather focuses on the maintenance prevention. Okay? This means that there is a joint responsibility and ownership of the equipment in the plant, leading to the higher equipment availability and performance. Okay? The whole earlier attitude of saying that I only make it and you maintain it is now all destroyed. And we all say that it is we all together maintain it and operate it. Okay, operation is still pretty much with the operator, but maintenance becomes a common part. Okay, so if we look into this, into the benefits of TPM, I would say that equipment maintenance has to become a fact of life. Okay, companies that understand this and use the TPM, they get the most out of their resources. What do they get? They get the significantly decreased maintenance costs. They get increased equipment availability and thus the profitability. and they get the improved teamwork and the employee involvement. Okay, so these are the three prime benefits which people end up getting part of the TPM. There are other benefits, somewhere we will also talk about them, but these things become the central part. Okay. Implementation of a TPM program always creates a shared responsibility for equipment that would encourage the greater involvement by the plant floor workers. In the right environment, this can be highly effective in improving productivity, that is increasing uptime of the machine, reducing the cycle time, and eliminating the defects. Okay, so that is what the more core benefits of the TPM are. Again, until and unless we are able to eliminate the waste into the system, we will never be able to achieve the stability in the operations. So TPM has to focus on reducing the waste in the system to make it more efficient. An efficient plant and machinery will always help in reducing the waiting, motion, transportation, inventory, and such kind of the 7-8 waste, which normally do happen. Give me a second. I think there is some problem with the video. Yeah, okay. So that becomes a core that you have to focus on reducing the waste, and TPM has to assist into that. Some more benefits, direct, indirect benefits. A good TPM implementation is known to increase the productivity and overall plant efficiency by 1.5 to 2 times. It can reduce the manufacturing cost by 30%. Although all these numbers which I talked about, 1.5 to 2 times or 30%, all these numbers would vary based on the organizational maturity and operational stability. Okay. Rectifying the customer complaints and satisfying the customer needs by 100% is possible by delivering the right quality at the right time in the required quality. It promotes safe and non-polluting working environment. And since TPM is all about the total employee involvement, it increases the confidence level among the employees, brings a favorable change in the attitude of the operators, helps in our horizontal deployment of a key concept in all areas of the organization. Okay, so list of the benefits is long. I just took some of the benefits and then just try to explain them out over here. Let's look at something else. Let's look at, since we're talking about total productive maintenance, let's look at what are the maintenance types. Okay, so the first major type of the maintenance, which is very common, is breakdown maintenance, which fundamentally means that the people wait until the equipment really fails and then repair it. Okay, and it's a bad practice, agreed. But in certain cases where we know that the reliability of the equipment is significantly very high, and even if it fails and its repair in the overall working is not going to cost us very heavily, or losses are going to be significantly under control, it still could be a good enough practice to live with. However, breakdown maintenance is the first type of the maintenance, and we need to improve upon that. So the second one is preventive maintenance. As we talked about it, it was introduced in the 1951. It's a daily maintenance, and this maintenance could be cleaning, inspection, oiling, retightening, adjustments, and so on and so forth. This daily maintenance is designed to retain the healthy condition of equipment and prevent the failure through the prevention of deterioration, periodic inspection, or equipment condition diagnosis to measure the deterioration. Okay, so that's a preventive maintenance overall. It is further divided into the periodic maintenance and predictive maintenance. Just like human life is extended by the preventive medicines, the equipment service life can also be prolonged by doing the preventive maintenance. Okay, so vaccine is a very good example that if you take the vaccine, you probably will not get that disease, right? So like you get the polio vaccine to avoid the polio. So same way, if I am doing a preventive maintenance, my equipment life also can be elongated. So periodic maintenance, or it is also called time-based maintenance, it consists of periodically inspecting, servicing, and cleaning equipment and replacing parts to prevent the sudden failure and process problems. On the other hand side, predictive maintenance is a method in which the service life of important part is predicted based on inspection or diagnosis in order to use the parts to the limit of their service life only. Okay. Compared to the periodic maintenance, predictive maintenance is condition-based maintenance. It manages the trend values by measuring and analyzing data about deterioration and employs a surveillance system. designed to monitor the condition through an online system. Okay, I'll give you a very different kind of an example. In the aircrafts, the tires of the aircraft cannot be used beyond a certain number of the landings, because the pressure it takes while landing and the kind of the friction it has a very limited life of the tire. And if you use that beyond a certain life or certain number of landings, the tires can burst, causing a massive, accident also. So that's a predictive maintenance, saying that yes, there is a fixed time or fixed number of the landings which is allowed into it. Similarly, there are large number of the components which could be, rubber based, and there is a life of rubber, whether used or not used, it can get brittle. So accordingly, there is a prediction made, and then based upon that value, you'd want to change that. Okay. Corrective maintenance, on the other hand side, was introduced in 1957, and it improves the equipment and its components so that the preventive maintenance can be carried out reliably. Equipment with design weakness must be redesigned to improve the reliability or improving the maintainability. The last one is the maintenance prevention, again introduced way back in 1960, and it focuses on the design of a new equipment. Weakness of the current machines are essentially studied in detail with on-site information, which can tell us that what are the factors leading to the failure preventions, easier maintenance, and prevention of the defects, ease of manufacturing, safety, etc. And these are incorporated before commissioning a new equipment. So that's a maintenance prevention. Okay, so these are the type of the maintenance which come into the impact or the effect when we get into the productive maintenance. TPM Foundation. TPM warrants a total employee participation. Again and again, we are emphasizing upon that. Engagement and involvement of the people is central to the entire theme of the TPM. Okay, it's crucial to bring stability to operations and shop floor. All employees must be engaged into the continuous improvement activities, workplace organization, following the 5S, line balancing, carrying out the Kaizens to improve the workplace, methods, processes, equipment, and so on and so forth. Okay, so that's a fundamental, the baseline or the foundation of the TPM over here. We will look into some visual TPM tools, and you might find them, very simple enough. Don't go by those simplicity. As we go deeper into the implementation, then you'll realize that these tools, though they look simple, how effectively they contribute. Okay, so first one is you're identifying the RegTech targets, okay? And it is a very important tool for TPM. You also use the RegTechs for the 5S. Concepts remain same. You essentially identify the equipment, jigs, tools, machine, gauges, measuring instruments, maybe even dies, trolleys, workstations, etc., whether they require the repairs, maintenance, or inspection, so that those common equipment or tools and fixtures are in the right working condition, enabling good working environment. If not, then you should be RegTeching them. So you have to look at the RegTech targets which need to be looked into. Okay. The second one is Fugai tagging, which is a simple word. Fugai in the Japanese means bad, and the Fugai tagging is identifying the bad areas to be repaired. Okay. In simple terms, most of us would know them as the RegTechs. Okay, that's how normally we use this particular word. But I use the Fugai word over here because I also wanted to introduce the TPM tags apart from the RegTechs. Okay, TPM tags, like the inspection cards, are a visual tool used to communicate important information to the operator. These tags are used to identify which piece of the equipment needs maintenance and what kind of the maintenance they require. Okay. This follows the same process of the RegTech targets identification. Okay. Visual controls. Visual control, like the rotating direction of the motor, or maybe even a fan to indicate the function of a chiller unit. These are good assistance to the operators in the autonomous maintenance. So these are other things which are applied. Inspection cards. Brightly colored inspection tags, like what you're seeing over here, DMWY, okay, are great, again, visuals to communicate important inspection procedures for a specific piece of equipment. Now, operators can know how frequently inspections have to occur from the color of the tag, as well as who is responsible for the inspection and what type of the maintenance may be needed. D, M, W, Y are the periodic frequencies, and the colors and other things would be, also identifying that who has to do what and so on and so forth, or even the importance. So you can use a color combination schemes of your own also, you can use certain standards also, but these are the ways in which from a distance you can figure out that this equipment has to be maintained on a daily basis for certain, checkpoints. Certain things have to be gone through a preventive maintenance cycle on a monthly or a yearly basis, and so on and so forth. Okay. The other important tools are the training guides and the forms. TPM relies heavily on the full employee participation, and a key way to achieve this is to provide the comprehensive training and training guides to the workers. Having easy to understand guides on hand will make it easier for the employees to reference them quickly and keep them refreshed on the concepts of the total productive maintenance. Okay. We also use the standard TPM forms, which are again excellent options for keeping the TPM information together and organized. And we keep track of the facilities TPM activities easily by using certain, forms like abnormality assessment, a TPM tag register, an OEE worksheet, autonomous maintenance forms, or the maintenance request tags, and so on and so forth. Okay, so these are, the training guides and the forms and other things which we use as the common tools for the TPM. They look simple, but then they assist very heavily into implementing the TPM. We have always talked about the 6 big losses in the lean. We have talked about the 7 or 8 wastes in the lean. When we work along with the TPM, it is all about the equipment, plant, machinery, and so on and so forth. So obviously, any kind of a loss which happens on the equipment in terms of the 6 big losses is a vital thing for us. So we always would look at the 6 major losses of this particular, side, which is setup and adjustments, reduced speeds, production rejections, startup rejects, small stops and breakdowns, and so on and so forth. Okay, so they become very, very important over here. Now, once we understand this particular thing and we start, focusing upon them, then we will also target on improving the equipment performance, availability, quality, cost structure, schedule attainment, safety, multi-skilling of the workers, and so on and so forth. So these 6 losses become an important tool for managing the TPM overall. Okay. I'm sure that we used a similar slide when we talked about the overall equipment effectiveness OE webinar. And in essentially, in TPM, the low productivity of the machine or equipment that incur losses for the company is often caused by the use of the inefficient and efficient machinery or equipment, both the sides. It could be inefficient or efficient machine, but somehow or the other, they still, incur the losses. And these 6 big losses, we normally categorize them into the 3 groups. Okay, so we use them into the downtime losses, we use them or we summarize them as the speed losses, or the defect or the quality losses. These are the 3 groups under which the losses are kind of identified over here. The overall equipment effectiveness method incorporates the metrics for all the machines and equipment conditions into a kind of a measurement system so as to help improve the equipment performance and reduce the ownership cost. Okay. As we have already talked about it, OEE is divided by or is derived by calculating the availability, performance, and quality. Okay. So OE becomes another very important tool in trying to understand that where the losses are happening and how to monitor, manage, and improve upon them. Okay. What I have done over here is I have put together a slide over here, and I'm not going to go in detail over here because, as I said, implementation can be a very lengthy topic, and we will do a separate session for this going forward. What I've done is that each of the 6 losses, which can be countered by deploying relevant tools ranging from the 5S workplace organization, Kaizen, RCA, line stop audits, maybe even plant downtime management, Six Sigma, error proofing, standard operating procedures, line balance optimization, adjustments, and so on and so forth. I've tried to categorize them as per the 6 different losses, the OE measures for them, and the probable reasons for the losses over here. Okay. So as we develop a complete TPM philosophy, the entire approach, and start detailing them out, we also start deploying these tools one by one to start bringing a control onto the losses and manage them better. Okay. All right. So let's come to the core. I'm sure that you all would have heard that there are 8 pillars to the TPM. Yes, you're right. There are 8 pillars to the TPM overall. Okay. And these 8 pillars of the total productive maintenance focus on the proactive and maintenance techniques to help improve the equipment reliability. These 8 pillars are autonomous maintenance, focused improvement, which is also called Kaizen, plant maintenance, quality management, early equipment management, training and education, safety, health and environment, and the TPM in administration. Some call it as also office TPM. Okay. So these are the 8 core pillars. Let's talk about each of these pillars successfully in small, quick orientation. So the first pillar, autonomous maintenance, it means that ensuring the operators are fully trained on routine maintenance like cleaning, lubricating, and inspecting, as well as placing that responsibility solely in their hands. This gives machine operators a feeling of ownership of their equipment and increases their knowledge of the peculiar piece of the equipment. It also guarantees the machinery is always clean and lubricated, helps identify the issues before they become the failures, and frees up the maintenance staff for the high level of the tasks. Okay. If you remember, we had a slide earlier which talked about that TPM produces a paradigm shift in the attitude on the shop floor also. So autonomous maintenance is one of the major shifts from that particular angle. Okay. Implementing autonomous maintenance will involve cleaning the machine to a baseline standard that the operator must maintain. And this will include the training and operator on technical skills for conducting a routine inspection based on the machine's manual. Once trained, the operator sets his or her own autonomous inspection schedule, and standardization ensures that everyone follows the same procedures and the processes. So that's the first pillar. The second pillar is on the focused improvement. Okay. So focused improvement is based around the Kaizen, which is meaning the improvement. Okay. In manufacturing, Kaizens are required and they are used for improving the function and processes continuously. So focused improvement looks at the process as a whole and brainstorms ideas for how to improve it. Getting small teams in the mindsets of proactively working together to implement the regular incremental improvements to processes pertaining to equipment operation is very, very vital for the TPM. Okay. Diversifying team members allow for the identification of recurring problems through the cross-functional brainstorming. And it also combines the inputs from across the company so that the teams can see how processes affect different departments. In addition, focused improvement increases efficiency by reducing the product defects and the number of processes while enhancing safety by analyzing the risk of each individual action. Finally, focused improvement ensures improvements are standardized, making them repeatable and sustainable. Okay, so that's the second pillar over here. The third pillar, plant maintenance. Plant maintenance would involve studying the metrics like the failure rates and historical downtime, and then scheduling maintenance tasks based around these predicted or measured failure rates or the downtime periods. Or in the other words, we can say, since there is a specific time to perform the maintenance on the equipment, you can schedule the maintenance around the time when the equipment is either idle or producing at low capacity, or it really doesn't, hamper your production. Okay, so the interruptions are lowest. Additionally, plant maintenance allows for the inventory built up for when the scheduled maintenance occurs. So since you will know that when each piece of equipment is scheduled for the maintenance activity, having the inventory built up ensures that any decrease in production due to the maintenance is mitigated. Okay. Taking this proactive approach greatly reduces the amount of the unplanned downtime by allowing for most maintenance to be planned for times when machinery is not scheduled for production. It also lets you plan the inventory more thoroughly by giving you the ability to better control parts that are prone to the wear and failure. Okay, so that's the plant maintenance. The fourth one is the quality maintenance. At the maintenance plan, all the maintenance planning and strategizing in the world is actually not going to help you if the quality of the maintenance being performed is inadequate. And again on the shop floors in several companies, we have seen that maintenance teams are not able to deliver a quality maintenance. As a result of it, that maintenance downtimes keep on increasing, the failure of the machines keep on increasing. So quality of the maintenance is a very, very vital part over here. Okay. So this pillar focuses on working design error detections and prevention into the production processes. It does this by using the typical problem solving tools and also the root cause analysis and so on and so forth to identify and eliminate the recurring sources of the defects. By proactively detecting the source of errors or defects, processes become more reliable, producing the products with the right specification the first time. If I already know that what is the source of error, I have enough data, I have analyzed it sufficiently, I can do a predictive maintenance over there, and I can improve the quality of my maintenance over here. Possibly the biggest benefit of quality maintenance is to prevent the defected products from moving down the lane, which would lead to a lot of rework subsequently. Again, we have looked in the cost of quality webinar that if my defect is detected at the customer side versus on the next process itself, the cost of repairing or cost of recovering from the defect can be humongous. So early we detect the error, better it is. With targeted quality maintenance, quality issues are addressed and permanent countermeasures can be put in place, minimizing or completely eliminating the defects and downtimes related to the defected products. Okay. Next pillar is early equipment management. And this is a very important pillar. The TPM pillar of early equipment management takes the practical knowledge and overall understanding of the manufacturing equipment acquired through the total productive maintenance and uses it to improve the design of new equipment. Okay. Designing equipment with the input of the people who use it most allows the manufacturers to improve the maintainability and the way in which the machine operates in the future designs. Okay. So this is a feedback mechanism by which I can improve my machine designs altogether. When discussing the design of equipment, it's important to talk about things like the ease of cleaning and lubrication, accessibility of parts, ergonomically placing controls in a way that it is comfortable for the operator, how the changeovers can occur effectively, the safety features, and so on and so forth. Okay. So taking this approach increases the efficiency even more because now your equipment can already meet the desired specification, has lower startup issues, quick changeovers, and therefore the plant performance level can be higher. And you can reach those performance levels also faster. Okay. So this is another important part of the TPM. Education and training. I think it goes without saying that anything we want to do, until and unless we train, until and unless we get the operators or all the employees educated about it, no program can succeed effectively. So same thing applies over here also to the operators, managers, and maintenance persons. This pillar is intended to ensure that everyone is on the same page with the TPM processes and to address any knowledge gap so that the TPM goals are achievable. Okay. This is where the operators learn the skills to proactively maintain the equipment and identify the emerging problems. Maintenance team learns how to implement a proactive and preventive maintenance schedule, and managers become well-versed in TPM principles, employee development, and coaching. Okay. Using the tools like single point lessons and so on, posted on or near an equipment or the visual work instructions supporting that can actually further help the train operators on operating procedures. So education and training is another very important pillar of the TPM. The second last or the seventh pillar is the manufacturing support. Okay. So a good TPM program is only as good as the sum of its parts. Okay. Total productive maintenance must look beyond the plant floor by addressing and eliminating the areas of waste in its administrative functions. Okay. Sorry. This means supporting production by improving things like order processing, procurement, and scheduling. And administrative functions are often the first step into the entire manufacturing process. So it is very important that they are also streamlined and there's no waste generation from those office processes also. So if the some people also call it as office TPM or TPM administration, but it essentially becomes a support to the manufacturing. So that's why we take this as a manufacturing support pillar. I'll give you an example. If you have an order processing procedure and that order processing procedure becomes very streamlined, then the material can get to the plant floor faster and with lesser errors. And then this itself can, eliminate certain potential downtime while either I'm waiting for the missing parts or I'm waiting for certain other instructions to come down the production shop floor. Okay, so office TPM or the manufacturing support is a very vital part of TPM also. The last pillar is safety, health, and environment. Okay. Maintaining a safe working environment means employees can perform their task in a safe place without any kind of a health risk. Okay. And it's important to produce an environment that makes production more efficient. But it should not be at the risk of the employee's safety or health. So to achieve this, any solution introduced in the TPM process must always consider the safety, health, and environment. Okay? You cannot negate these three factors in any kind of a TPM activity. Essentially, since you're dealing with the machines and any process change over there can pose a safety risk or can pose a health risk, it is important that the safety, health, and environment are constantly watched over while introducing any new process in TPM. Okay. Apart from these kind of the obvious benefits, if the employee comes to work in a safe environment every day, their attitude also, tends to become better because sometimes they have to really worry about their own safety. Also, they also have to worry about the environment. Now, with a better, clean environment, safe environment, their health being taken care of, they really don't have to worry about that part and focus out onto the work. Okay, this again improves the productivity in a very noticeable manner. And considering the safety should be especially prevalent during the early equipment management stage of the TPM process. So these are the 8 pillars which we talked about, which are the core 8 pillars of TPM overall. Okay, we will move on to the TPM implementation. We'll take a quick walkthrough of the TPM implementation. As I said, TPM implementation, though it looks simple, a couple of the slides which I'll be showing you will say, wow, it is so simple, but it is not. And it does take a lot of efforts to really implement a good TPM overall. So we will go through in detail, maybe in a different session altogether, but we will still walk through the entire process. So the implementation of TPM program creates a shared responsibility for equipment that encourages the greater involvement by the plant floor workers and the maintenance staff together. In the right environment, this can be very effective in improving productivity. It increases uptime, reduces cycle times, and eliminates the defects. Okay, so there are various approaches of implementing. The most common one is the 12 steps in the 4 phases. Some also have a shorter 5-step cycle also. I'll just quickly walk you through the 12-step implementation approach. So as you can see it over here, all the 12 steps are grouped into the 4 stages or the 4 phases. The first 5 steps are the part of the preparation phase, and these steps are announcement to introduce TPM, introductory education campaign for the workforce, TPM promotion, which is forming certain special committees to drive that, establishing TPM basic policies and the goals, preparation and formulation of a master plan. These are the 5 basic activities which are part of the preparation phase overall. Okay. Then comes the 6th step of kickoff, where usually we would get the customers, affiliated companies, and the subcontractors all to come in and understand that what we are trying to achieve into this entire TPM process over here. So that's the second phase. The third phase is the implementation phase, where we have developing an equipment management program. We develop a plant maintenance program. We develop an autonomous maintenance program. We focus and increase the skills of production and maintenance personnel. We develop the early equipment management program. So these are the 5 specific areas which we include into the implementation phase. The 12th phase by default becomes the stabilizing phase, which results into the perfect TPM implementation and also helps us to raise and move through the various levels of the TPM. So these are the 12 steps of the implementation. in some dedicated session, we will talk about these 12 steps more in detail so that you can understand them in greater depth. When we do the implementation, what we also do is we end up creating a plant-wide structure, and we normally set up a TPM office, which is the governing office, and there is a TPM responsible person, which usually we take the plant manager or operations head as a responsible person for this TPM. Okay, this TPM office becomes the oversight of the TPM activities, initiatives, efforts, and is usually headed by a TPM responsible person. For each pillar, there is a group of people or committees identified to drive the initiatives. Okay, the whole structure is almost like a structure which you put up for the 5S. You put up a steering committee, you put up the promotion, audit, and training committees who drive certain initiatives and certain activities. So again, over here, we have the similar kind of approach and a perspective of driving the implementation of the TPM. Okay. The 5 fundamental TPM activities can be, while as I said, there are 8 pillars, we still focus on the 5 core activities over here. So what we focus out is onto the autonomous maintenance, equipment improvement, quality maintenance, maintenance prevention, and education and training. These are the 5 core areas where we focus while doing the implementation. Rest of the pillars, we take it up subsequently. And some of these pillars are also inherently adopted as well. Like the safety, health, and environment is adopted inherently at every stage or each stage as we go through it. But normally we focus upon these 5 core activities to begin with. Okay. These 5 core activities, again, I'll not go in detail over here, but what happens is for each core activity, we end up defining the goals and we identify the responsibilities to be assigned and the target level which has to be worked upon. So for an example, in the autonomous maintenance, goals can be eliminate the 6 big losses, raise the OEE through the small group activities, educate workers in equipment related knowledge and skills, improve equipment, change workers' approaches, and revitalize the workshop. Now, activity could be targeted at the operators because these are the people who have to carry this out. So they are the target audience over here. Same way, we would identify the goals for the equipment improvement, quality management, maintenance prevention, and so on and so forth. Okay. Education and training will always form a big part of the TPM implementation, and ensuring that everyone is educated in equipment related knowledge and skills, as it is everyone's responsibility in TPM to maintain the equipment and not just maintenance department owns it. Okay, so education and training becomes a major part of the TPM implementation and is part of the 5 major core activities we do while implementing. TPM, again and again, it is all about the people involvement and enhancement, and hence everything over here will revolve around the people. Okay. Major components around the people can be that how do you restore, maintain, and improve the existing facilities under the TPM, detect and eliminate the faults and problems, establish, monitor, and improve the process effectiveness, establish and maintain a clean, neat, and tidy workplace, detect and eliminate inherent faults, provide and improve the maintenance systems to support the facilities, maybe even purchase and install the new facilities that can provide the best returns. So these are the other activities or the components of TPM which all revolve around the people involvement and enhancement, and people have to drive these kind of the activities. Okay. How do you sustain? I think sustenance activities always will be generic over here. So most of these activities, sustenance part is also borrowed from the 5S. Things like the worker standardization, 5S, workplace organization, and so on and so forth. The usual action items over here would be good rewards and recognition system, providing active leadership, continuously improving the OEE, evolving the TPM initiatives over time, and integration with the more lean tools, and so on and so forth. So these are some of the measures we take towards sustaining the TPM overall. TPM essentially has got the 3 levels. Japan Institute of Plant Management has actually instituted the TPM awards worldwide and has defined the 3 different levels. Okay, let's also briefly look into these, the 3 levels also, so that we can also understand that. So the first level focuses on the operational excellence. This covers the shop floor and the actual production activities. Okay. You can see the green one, and you can see that how this green one is, identified over here. Okay. The second level is focusing upon the integrated supply chain, which covers the sources and deliveries with the necessary planning over here. That's all the activities within the red box over here. Okay, the red boundary. The third level is everything all inclusive, shown in this particular chart, and it focuses on the extended supply chain, which covers the suppliers, customers, and consumers, technology and product development. So almost everything which goes towards producing something effectively. So these are the three levels on which there are 3-level awards constituted and instituted by the Japan Institute of Plant Management. And companies wanting to go for the awards have to go through these 3 levels. They have to first achieve the first level of operational excellence, and then after that move into the integrated supply chain, and then strive for the extended supply chains. So very large companies which have got the global footprints or a global supply chain footprints, they are the ones who usually go for the level 3. But most of the companies today have started moving to the level 1, which is the factory operational excellence. Okay, and even if you have the factory operational excellence, this also helps you to really improve your working and stabilize your shop floor over here. Let's look back into the level 1 quickly. So the level 1 program would focus on generating the profits by eliminating and preventing the constraints and losses that stand in the ways of reducing the production cost. Okay. What is stopping you from reducing the production cost is the focus of the level 1. Okay. And as part of it, we will focus on the flow of products and reducing the level of constraints on reducing the production cost. That is our main focus over here. The second level essentially would focus on removing the constraints and the losses which are in the way of reducing now the total product cost, not the production cost, but the product cost, total product cost, which will include the activities like even the production control, production engineering, sourcing, quality maintenance, cost management, and so on and so forth. So that's the second level. Here, I should be able to improve or reduce the cost of my entire total product ownership. Okay. The third level actually works upon removing the constraint which can help me to improve the company's overall cash flow. Now that's a last level where at the end of the day, everything which I do should help me to improve my cash flow. And this would include the activities like the distribution and services, sales and research, development and design, and so on and so forth. If you see into this picture, this is very neatly defined. The inner circle is blue, which is the level 1. The lighter green is the level 2, and the darker green is the level 3. And on the timeline over there, the orange dots or the purple dots actually show the activities which are part of those particular levels. So that's how they have tried to define it out over here. So this is how the 3 levels of the TPM have been identified. So any company which is wanting to actually move up should first of all focus out onto the operational excellence at the TPM level 1. Achieving the TPM level 1 also is a journey by itself. Normally, it takes up to 1 year to 1.5 years to achieve the level 1. Okay, some of the companies achieve it faster if they already have certain basic processes or systems established, certain lean tools established. If the 5S and other programs are already established over there, then the journey to the TPM can be faster. But still, it does take time to cover the entire shop floor and really address out all these areas. Okay, if you have achieved the level 1, then you can move up to level 2 and level 3. But in my opinion, the MSMEs definitely must focus on the level 1. Even if they go for the award or no, they must try to comply to the level 1, and that itself will help them to improve the production capacity and competency as well as the profitability over there. So toward the end, once again, I would say that TPM is a very holistic approach to equipment maintenance, which always will aim for perfect production. Its goals will always remain the 0 defect, 0 breakdown, 0 accident, and the 0 waste. Okay? TPM is built on a foundation of the total employee involvement with focus on the HIJUMCA, work standardizations, 5S, and visual controls and the Kaizens and so on and so forth. Okay. The 8 pillars, just to again reiterate back: autonomous maintenance, focused improvement, plant maintenance, quality management, early equipment management, training and education, safety, health and environment, and TPM in administration or the manufacturing support. These are the 8 pillars of the TPM. It will bring, if you implement the TPM, it will bring significant improvement in the equipment availability, teamwork, employee involvement, and would help you in decreasing the maintenance cost. Okay. As we just recently talked, Japan Institute of Plant Management has instituted 3 levels of the TPM awards: operational excellence, integrated supply chain, and the extended supply chains. Okay. So these are the 3 levels of the TPM awards, overall award set up by them. So needless to say, Skilltelligent and Auro University, we will always carry out, we can always deliver the specific training programs for your organization on TPM and the related tools. We can help you to actually understand each of the pillars, help you to establish the operational excellence and focus on the level 1 of the TPM. We are also going to be launching certain, several certificate courses. I'm sure that Kishore would be talking about some of these things as well, or maybe shortly making some announcements as well and then share the information. I hope that this session has been helpful. Anything else you would like to know, please do let us know. We will dedicate a full session on implementing the TPM in future so that you can understand that better. You can also go on the YouTube, you can search for the Skilltelligent as a channel, and you can subscribe to that channel. There we have kept the recordings of all the sessions done so far. Please go through them. If they are useful, please leave a comment which can tell us that what else we can improve upon. Share your feedback. Also tell us that what are the other topics which we must include into this. We will be glad to take them up in the future. Okay. Thank you everyone for attending. If there are any questions, we can take them up now. Thank you once again. Kishore, over to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the wonderful presentation. We have been receiving a few questions. So let us start with the first one. How do you correlate TQM and TPM?
So I think TQM, if I talk about TQM, is the total quality management. That would focus on the quality of the product, while the TPM would focus on the equipment used to produce the product. So if my product quality is good, that is a TQM, all the actions towards that. If my equipment which is being used to produce it, if that is in a good condition, that's where the TPM comes in picture. Okay. Both result into an increase into the quality. TQM and TPM actually share a lot of similarities and are, very often people call them TQM, TPM together. So it's not two different things. TQM is also a shift of accountability. That is, instead of blaming the workers that you don't produce it effectively, you produce the bad quality and so on and so forth. It basically says that the managers own the responsibility for the processes and systems which are not letting the workers produce effectively. So TQM focuses out on that. And in TPM, we focus on keeping the equipments working at the full capability and thereby that avoiding the breakdowns or delays in the manufacturing process. In a way, you can say that TPM is also a way to help achieving the goal of the TQM. So TPM actually supports out the TQM from that angle. Okay. So that's how the TPM and TQM are.
Thank you. Next question. Is TPM applicable to logistics also, like same as production?
So if you have the equipments involved into your logistics operations, yes, then the TPM is applicable. But if there are no applications, equipments involved into it, then probably the TPM may not apply over there, right? However, if you're talking about a logistics, which includes the warehousing, which includes the transportation, which includes, all kind of the goods movement and so on and so forth, obviously there will be equipments into it, and you can look up at the TPM applicability there as well.
Thanks. Next question. Are you providing services to set up TPM in organization to enhance maintenance quality and practices?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we would be more than happy to, work along with you, help out your organization to the best. Uh, Please do get in touch with us separately, and Kishore, probably you can touch base with Kishore or with us, and then we can, always look into that. Definitely.
Thanks. Uh, Next question. How to stop forced deterioration of equipment?
Sorry, how to force?
How to stop forced deterioration of equipment?
So if you have the good preventive maintenance practices, that's where you will know that whether your equipment is deteriorating or not. So good preventive maintenance practices have to be brought into the place. It's easy to say that preventive maintenance practices should be established, but you will also have to study out over there that what kind of the deterioration takes place, why it is taking place, what is the frequency, what are the trends into it, what are the areas where the failures are taking place or the deterioration is happening. And then based upon that study, by identifying the root causes, you can set up a preventive maintenance action plan. And then you can ensure that the deterioration of the equipment is kind of controlled. Okay.
Thank you. Next question. If management doesn't give maintenance, how we can implement this? So basically what he's trying to say, I think the management doesn't allow us for these activities. How do we implement this?
So this is a very common problem on the shop floor, and production people do not want to let the machine go out to the maintenance people because they have the targets and they have to achieve those particular targets. Then what happens in that particular case? You will end up having the breakdowns, and you will start attending the breakdowns. Even when the breakdowns happen, normally I've seen that the production people will be standing on the heads of the maintenance staff, shouting on them that why are you taking so much time? I've got a production loss happening. So they would do a quick patchy work and then move on, and then there will be second breakdown and so on and so forth. So what happens is normally these kind of the shortcuts to the maintenance actually do not help out in the long run. What needs to be done is that you actually have to study out that what kind of the breakdowns are happening, what kind of the production losses are taking place. And based upon that kind of the study, you have to present it back to the management that why a effective preventive maintenance plan has to be put in place, how the scheduled plant stoppages should be there, how proactive maintenance should be carried out. Maybe a certain level of the autonomous maintenance is introduced. So these kind of the plans then have to be studied. Data has to support these kind of the studies, and then you have to take it to management to help them understand that part. Yes, but I agree that this is a challenge. Management is always focused upon maximizing the top line and the bottom line, and the production people under the instructions do not want to let go of the machines till the last moment, which in a long run actually is counterproductive and increases the losses. So it's a mindset change which has to be worked upon.
Thank you. Next question. In 24/7 running plant, we did not get time for preventive maintenance. Then what to do?
So I agree. There are a lot of continuous manufacturing plants. Do we mean to say that those plants do not get maintained? No, even those plants also get maintained, right? I'll give you a classical example even of the oil refineries, which essentially is a 24/7, or a cement plant, which is again a 24/7. You can't have a unplanned shutdowns over there. If you have a shutdown, you have a massive loss over there. In case of a cement, the entire cement can, kind of cake up over there, and the entire lot might have to be thrown out, which can be a huge loss, right? So some of the continuous process plants, it's very difficult to say that, how do I stop the plant? But then there are techniques by which certain equipments on the rotation basis are taken up for the maintenance. There are plant preventive shutdown times planned out so that the entire equipments are made available for a quick, refurbishing or maintenance or improvements and so on and so forth. It's a very common thing even in an oil refinery to see maybe 3 weeks, 4 weeks of a shutdown in the year for a complete overhauling and a complete preventive maintenance. So something similar always happens even in a 24/7 plant. Only thing is that you have to really look up at your investment required or the losses by stopping the plant, and versus that cost of the maintenance, time required for it, and the probable losses because of the breakdowns. And then you have to evolve a strategy and accordingly to it. But yes, you still have to do the preventive maintenance across the board.
Thank you. Next question. How to build culture of preventive maintenance in organizations and how to make balance between production and preventive maintenance?
So this is more than, tool or technique or technology. This is more of planning and, the human behavior and the mindset. So a lot of education, a lot of training, a lot of, analysis of the situation, a lot of calculations, returns on investments and other things identified, root cause analysis and other things identified, actually helps you to identify that what kind of the preventive maintenance must be done, why it must be done, what are the benefits, apprising the production and the management teams about the benefits of the preventive maintenance and so on. These things have to be brought in, and it has to be a sustained effort of education, training, dialogue, conversation, sharing the data, root cause analysis, and so on and so forth, to make them understand and build a consensus around the culture of preventive maintenance. So it does take time, but if it's structured and planned well, this culture can definitely be built up.
Thank you. Next question. Why it is difficult to change the mindset of shop floor people and how we can change that, and what are the consequences shall be applied if no response from them?
so most of these are the human behaviors. Essentially, if on the shop floor, I'm totally focused upon only maximizing the run time, and I do not, focus on the maintenance. And when a large downtime happens, and I have to take a massive loss over there, probably that's the first time or the best time when you can, reiterate the need for the preventive maintenance or a better, maintenance mechanism. Okay, but you don't have to wait for a massive, breakdown to happen and losses to occur. You can still study the data. You can still identify the minor and the small stops or the reduced speed or the, lower yields, and that those losses also can be put together to talk about that what kind of the losses are already happening and how they can be avoided if you have a better maintenance practices in place. Okay, so if you use the the fundamental data collected from the shop floor, you model them properly, and you build up a compelling case to your management or to shop floor people, I'm sure that they will understand. So this will require some kind of analysis, some kind of a data collection, some kind of a presentation, some kind of a persistent, education and training and a dialogue to get the mindset change over here.
Thank you, sir. Next question. To have quality maintenance, how much it is important to have skilled workers, engineers, and managers?
Oh, very important. If your operators essentially are not, skilled on or trained on how to carry out the autonomous maintenance, they will actually, they can even cause more problems. So it is very important that even your operators are taught onto the autonomous maintenance. And if they know the autonomous maintenance properly, they will actually help in improving the quality of the maintenance, because the minor things they can spot immediately and take care of it, or even escalate as required. If your maintenance staff, engineers, and managers understand the importance of this and also are trained properly, then they can frame the right kind of the mechanics of carrying out the effective maintenance, which can result into the higher quality maintenance and elongate the life of the equipment and also the the production cycles. So training them is very, very important. And the skilling cannot be just on the maintenance staff. It has to be across the organization, because in TPM, everyone and anyone owns the machine in one or the other small part. Okay, so everyone has to be trained into this.
Thank you, sir. We have come to the end of the sessions. We have answered all the questions. Thank you, sir, for apprising us on the total productive maintenance, that is TPM. As we have learned that TPM bring maintenance into focus as a necessary and vitally important part of business. It is no longer regarded as non-profit activity. TPM is implemented for various important reasons. For example, avoiding wastage in a quickly changing and economic environment, producing goods without reducing product quality, reducing cost, goods sent to the customer must be non-defective, and many more such benefits. As I always emphasize on effective implementation, if these techniques and processes are implemented effectively, they will surely give the desired results. Our next webinar will be in the coming week, hopefully on Thursday, and we will be announcing by tomorrow topic and timing, everything. You will get the information. I take this opportunity to thank Atul sir for being with us and advising us on the subject. I would like to thank all the participants and look forward to see you again next week with some more topic. And I would also like to share with you that soon we will be launching a short-term course on the Certified Lean Manufacturing Supervisor. Hopefully by the next week, we will be sharing further details on the same with you. Till then, thank you very much and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.